Hey yo, my Planet Coaster friends, Johnny5 Alive here. Welcome back to another episode of Coaster Spotlight. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Final Fantasy XIII Verse 10, the coaster, created by Anigmandra. So stay tuned and let's check it out. Alright, this was sent in by one of our Discord expert builders, Anigmandra, and she says, "Hey Johnny, I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy game. I thought it would be great to have a Final Fantasy stuff in Planet Coaster. So I built some GFs from FF13 and a lot of the monsters from FF10 and put them together in this coaster. The GFs from FF8 are fighting against the monsters from FF10 at the location of from FF10. All stuff and decorations are made by myself, except for the coaster. It was made by Hexer0. I am so confused right now. The description confused me. GF's Final Fantasy. What is GF's? Guardian Force. Is that what they're called now? I always thought them to be like the summons. Guardian Force. And I guess at one point they were called Espers, and then they turned into Materia. But what I remember them to be is the Espers, and then later on they from that they were turned into the summons. I guess they're called Greater Force now. Interesting. So FF10, I do think I remember that one, and that was with the Sphere Grid Tree and the Blitzball. Final Fantasy 13, which one was that? Okay, that was with Lightning. I did play through most of that. When I got to the open sandbox world part of the game, I realized that your subclass could never be as powerful as your main class, and I had all these cool ideas to turn Lightning into a tank and Snow into a caster of a mage of some sort, and then I found I would just be underpowered, and I lost all inspiration to kind of grind and level up these subclasses. So I don't know, I did enjoy that game. I just desired a little bit more from it and never pushed through. And FF10, I absolutely hated the temples and got stuck on them, and I think this was back before the internet was very fine-tuned and I was playing it on a PlayStation or something, or maybe I didn't have the internet. I don't know. I was really young. I just kept on getting stuck on temples and I hated it, so I stopped playing that real quick. But I love the Sphere Grid system. Anyways, enough talk about Final Fantasy. This this coaster looks pretty darn incredible, so let's give it a ride for ourselves, shall we? Alright, before we get into it, Anigmandra, I just want to point out that your park entrance here was actually backwards to start. You placed it the wrong way. The gates need to be going this way, not that way. The guests weren't coming in, and I wasn't able to get guests on the ride, so I had to flip that around. Just something for you to take note of there, and a little pointer for anyone that's placing those. Very cool sign here. Little Moogles. Awesome. As you guys saw from the cinematic shots, we got some of those greater forces kicking around, and some of the other characters and creatures from Final Fantasy. I'm not sure the names of all these. It's been a while, and there's so many Final Fantasies with so many different names. I can only imagine that this one would be Bahamut. I think at least I got that one. For me, the composition is a little confusing, and I'm curious to know why you went with 13 versus 10. I guess you just want to do a kind of a combination. I would have liked to see one or the other in separate blueprints, because I'm trying to remember certain scenes from the games. I feel like this is like the kind of beach area or starting town that Titus begins in on 10, and then I do remember this like one snowy area with where you run into snow and some temples of this sort, but I don't remember Bahamut being a part of that. At least in 13. I can't remember maybe this is one of the temples from 10. I'm not sure about this one. I feel like that's from 10. But yeah, I'm having a hard time deciphering, and if it was all from one of the games and a little bit more iconic things from them, I think that would have worked a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, so there's an overall look at it, guys. Let's give this a ride. Alright, there it is, everybody. I do have some feedback. It's mostly coaster feedback. I love your creatures, or your greater forces, should we call them. They look absolutely stunning. Really good job on these. Now, I know that she said that Hexor0 designed the coaster track. So my feedback would be mainly towards Hexor. Now, with this coaster track, I did feel like it was a little bit rigid. As you can see coming through some of these areas, I feel like you could have had it going a little bit smoother through some of the transitions. It's a little herky-jerky and rigid in terms of it bumps up and down really quick or switches directions really quick, and I think you could have got a lot more of a smoother experience. So one thing I would have definitely done is brought the lift right up to its mouth almost here, and then I mean you could have even had a triggered event, so either fire or water or whatever coming out of this creature's mouth, and it stops just as you pass by it. Would have brought that lift up. That would have increased your overall speed. Let's see the speed of this coaster right now. Max speed is 58 miles an hour and average speed 23, so it definitely could be going a lot faster, especially for a Giga coaster. I like to see a lot of speed and high banking on these, so I would have brought this down a little bit smoother and smooth all this and get a nice bank coming up and around and some air time coming up and over this and down. Could have definitely benefit for a lot of smoothing, going into the bank a little bit more smoothing and harder angles. And then there's some other spots that were kind of a little bit of a kink. Now this one, because it's a Giga coaster, it's a cable lift, I believe, with this one. Yeah. Cable lift. So what ends up happening when the coaster gets here, you'll see it stop because it has to initiate the cable lift, and that's just the nature of these coasters. So had it been going a little bit higher at the beginning, it would have had enough speed to get up and over this, and that speed isn't going to hurt, and it actually improved the ratings overall. And then you could have actually gotten up here without a second lift that kind of just stops you in your tracks. Smoothing it a little bit coming through here, and then at the very end here it drops down, and you can definitely feel it from the rider perspective where it just it kind of gives you a little bit of that whiplash. So I would have eased that drop down a little bit better. Some just certain areas here and there that I would go through and clean up a bit. And I guess a note for Anigmandra, I don't know if you got Hexor to build the coaster for you or not, because maybe you're not too big into building coasters, and obviously you really like to do the creative art aspect of things. But my thoughts there is never be afraid to try doing your own coasters. Whether or not you were excellent at building coasters or not, I think it's always good to give it a try, especially if on these spotlights I try to give some feedback to help you improve that. So if you're afraid of building coasters, don't worry about it too much, and you know, we still want to take a look at the creativity gone into your coaster spotlight. So you know, some people are better at certain things, and we're always willing to discuss that here on the show. So never be afraid to take a stab at something for yourself. But if the intention here was just to do a little bit of a collaboration, I think that's fine as well. I was just a little bit confused, and that wasn't really clarified in the email submission. So either way, you got some feedback for Hexor and Anigmandra. If coasters isn't your thing, there's a little bit of feedback for you. If you're going to try it yourself, apply some of those suggestions that I gave into your own coasters in the future here. So there you go. That's all my thoughts on this one here today, guys. And I also have to just mention again that these greater forces are absolutely nuts, all made out of those baubles. That is a ton of work. So really good job there. And that's going to do it for this episode of Coaster Spotlight, everybody. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily Planet Coaster videos. And if you would like to support the show to keep it going, you can do so by becoming a patron. All right, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.